This is the community video and the Q&A for August 2025. A little bit late, but we're here with it anyway. And basically, if you don't know what this is something that patrons and YouTube members can participate in. And it's basically just asking questions, and I ask you a question at different levels of the Patreon and different levels of the YouTube. Yeah, but here we go. The first question is from Hypernova, and they say, which of the Natlan cast do you think would be the next Pyro Archon, including Benny? I love going into these questions not knowing what I'm going to say because I don't even look at the questions beforehand. But I would say that out of all of them, I think Kaniche is like the most capable in terms of like being someone who can make the right decisions. I'm not saying the other characters aren't smart, and of course they are in all their own ways, but I feel like it's almost like Kaniche has been the one that's been almost shadowing Malvika in a way. Someone who like always weighs up the right decision to make in a situation. I think even though they're like unbelievably lovely and nice and they will protect us and they always back up for us as characters and they're just a really good friend, I think they're also characters that like if you went to them, like out of all the like Natlan characters, if like you needed someone to make a decision that was like very like, I don't want to say analytically based, but very much like weighing up the options, I feel like Kaniche is probably one of the best people to go to. Because of course, like here's the thing, like, you have like other characters that like have like, you know, again, as you said, like their own intelligence, their own way, but Shalona doesn't want that. You know, she doesn't want to be the Pyro Archon. Neither does, you know, and Kachina, although like Kachina could be like, it'd be an amazing like turn of events, right? If like we're finding out who the next Pyro Archon and it's Kachina, that would be like a great story as well. I just feel like maybe the most obvious choice is Kaniche in that way. But then again, like, I think, you know, it doesn't always have to be the most obvious choice. If it's not Kaniche, I would say Kachina, just because I feel like Kachina has, like, you know, a very good heart, is someone who, like, would put their all into the work as well. And again, like I said, it always sounds like, you know that old thing on theater, like, oh, you say you don't like waffles? It's not that, you know, Mualani doesn't put their heart into everything, but I also think Mualani probably wouldn't want that position. I don't think she would, but I think there's two people that would want it and would also do good in their own ways. For me, are Kachina and Kaniche. That's who I'd pick for that choice, honestly. In my view anyway. Kaniche would be very good for it, honestly. Zevias, they say, do you also listen to J-pop? Kind of. If so, is there a song or artist you currently like? I hope this week has been going well for you, Romer. Stay safe as always. Stay safe and awesome as always. That's important to say because someone just called me awesome. So honestly, amazing. Thank you. You're awesome too. I guess if you can count, I know it is definitely Atarashi Gakko. I listen to them quite a bit, and I also like listen to some baby metal. I'm not like crazy into like J-pop. I like Maximum the Hormone in terms of like Japanese metal, but like Gakko are like probably the biggest one that I listen to in terms of like Japanese pop. They are not only just like, again, it's not even like that. Like some of their songs like are really great to listen to. Like, you know, I love listening to some of their songs, and some of their songs like you're really hyped up. But it's also like, you know, they're unbelievably entertaining with their music as well. And I think that's something that like I don't always have, because like when I listen to my favorite groups like Coheed and Cambria, Trivium, and Biffy Clyro, there's like and like say like now like I've developed into like having like other favorite like K-pop favorite groups as well. Usually like my favorite songs are the ones that like have like an impact on me emotionally in some way, or they have like a cool meaning to them in some way. But I feel like with Gakko, they have like very emotionally charged songs, but also like I'm just like, it's one of the first times ever, and it's before I even got into K-pop. Remember, like I would just watch their like dance practices and I would watch them perform, not because I'm like, oh, like this is like one of my favorite songs, because they're good songs, but it's also like, man, this is like mesmerizing. This is so interesting to watch as well, how talented they are in this sense too. And I feel like that's one thing that like, you know, always drew me to them, because again, like I said, there's like fantastic songs, and actually I'll put up like my I'll actually like maybe put like my favorite one in the description. I can never pronounce the name properly, but I'm gonna butcher it. Gianado, really good song, and like even like you know their songs, even their weirdest songs, have like a great groove to them, great vocals. 999, like they're always like very, very good. But like I feel like what drew me to them is personality and performance and entertainment and all this stuff as well. And they have that in droves with like how charismatic and amazing they are. Really, really fantastic. But that would be like the main one I probably like I'm into as well. In terms of like, you know, other Japanese stuff like metal, in terms of Maximum the Hormone, so into them. They hit my heart in like some crazy ways. They have some great riffs and some awesome vocals. And I would say like they're like kind of like more up my alley of what I've had listened to like for my whole life, which is like, you know, kind of like heavy metal and stuff like that. The next question is from What's Your Damage? Would you ever consider playing games on websites that you can get when you can get to it? Stuff like archive Flash games, Pop-Up games, etc., maybe even Roblox. Just curious. There's a few indie horrors out there that'd be amazing to try. I'd like to know what possibility is of this happening. I've wanted to play Dress to Impress for a while. I think a lot of people like when I mentioned it before. Like this was a while back. I mentioned it and I think people were like, "Whoa!" Like I'd actually like to see that. But it's one of those situations where like people don't suggest stuff sometimes because like you know, they never know like what the answer is going to be, and it's the same thing with like say like recently when I first played Danganronpa, for example, no one's really suggesting Danganronpa all that much. But it's one of those things when you play it, then all of a sudden it's like, I didn't even know this could be a possibility. So I think it's good to ask these type of questions, like, you know, that aren't usually always asked. You know, I think even actually What's Your Damage, like, talked about Little Misfortune before. And while, like, a few people definitely asked about Little Misfortune, it wasn't, like, one of the most recommended things. And it's only after you play, people are like, oh, I didn't even know this could be a possibility. And not because it's not, like, one of the games that, like, I would play, like, or get emotionally attached to, because people just, like, never know, like, oh, what style is, like, you know, should I suggest? And I feel like, you know, in turn, I feel like it's always, like, a really... I think one of the things I always like, and it's not, you know, What's Your Damage knows like they can ask whatever, you know, question they want here. But like some people I feel like, and maybe it's because of other YouTubers or maybe it's because of like YouTube in general. Sometimes people are like, I'm sorry if this is annoying, but like, would you ever play this game? And I'm like, no, it's not annoying at all. Like, please ask. It shows an interest. And I feel like that's one of the things that like, you should be happy that you're getting in the first place. I know it sounds so bad. It's like, hey, so you should be happy you're getting attention anyway. But I really feel it is like one of those things where it's like people are like, oh, people keep asking me to play Pokemon Y all the time. It's like, is that not awesome that people want you to play a game? People are interested enough in that stuff as well. Yeah, so like I don't really know much about like Flash games, or I heard of Flash games, like, you know, the Impossible Quiz and stuff like that. But I don't really know a lot about them. I know like about Roblox. I know about like Dress to Impress. I know about like Roblox horror games, stuff like that. But I don't know them enough in depth to even like have like a true opinion on it. But what I can say is that like I think that there's no limit to what we can. Well, there's obviously, you know, some stuff with like content and stuff like that, and like, you know, some stuff I won't play depending on like the creators or whatever like that as well. But like there's never a time where like someone suggests a game and I'm like, no, I don't, I'm not really, I'm sorry for using your question as a soapbox here. What's your damage? But yeah, the answer is that I would definitely like to play something like Dress to Impress at some point. And also like I'm down to like play anything if it's going to be fun or something I can get into, I guess. Because I think that's one of the things that like I always like about this channel is that, you know, I never was into Ace Attorney before I played Ace Attorney. I was never into Danganronpa before I played Danganronpa. I was never into Genshin before I played Genshin, and I was never into, you know, like a bunch of different genres. I never really played point and click games before this channel. You know what I mean? I didn't really play many visual novels before this channel, and I think that's such a like really cool thing. Like I really got into Zelda because of this channel. So yeah, like the answer is, in a long soapbox kind of way, the answer is possibly, very much possibly at some point. I definitely like to play like Dress to Impress. Malcolm Conde asks, what's your favorite movie/game trope or plot device? A favorite has got to be Returned by Death, used in Edge of Tomorrow and Stars in Time, and also the anime you have in mind right now, ReZero. Favorite trope? I guess like if you're talking about like Returned by Death, then like I'm trying to think of other tropes, and like I don't know if this counts, but I'm a massive fan of like timid character meets very excitable. Not excitable, very like angry character. You know what I mean? Like timid, quiet character meets the angry, outgoing character, and they develop a friendship. That's like one of my favorite tropes. And I think it's just because when done right, it can like become like very special and very fun. And it's always fun to see someone like, you know, that's in their shell, like, you know, either be protected by someone who's a little bit tougher, or like you know, get like more of a and it doesn't have to be angry. Like, you know, one of the examples is probably Mob Psycho, and actually I shouldn't spoil that. Actually, I'm always like worried because I don't want like someone to listen to this and be like, wait, I was gonna watch that. But yeah, like there's like, you know, a character in Mob Psycho where I feel like that is the way too. I recently watched Weak Hero, which had like some characters like that in like season 2 and season 1. I'm a big fan of that stuff as well. And also like when I want to do my own comic, like I already have like something like that in mind. And like while it is a trope, like I feel like it's something that like I'm always interested in, and I love that idea. And again, it's not just because it's like, oh yeah, like this is like so opposite attract, but it's kind of like that. But it's also like sweet. It's very sweet. It's very nice to see like a developing relationship between two opposites, and to see like how they can like make each other better, and to like kind of like share each other's burdens or share each other's feelings with each other, and go from being like kind of like a little bit more like timid to being like maybe more outgoing, and then also being like kind of angry and outgoing to being like more kind and things like this as well, but also keeping their own characters intact, if that makes sense. One of your favorite tropes, Return by Death, by the way, is like also like another trope that like it's not like one of my favorites. I'll be honest, like it's not like something I'm like, oh, this is amazing, but like I think the first time I've ever seen that was, I guess, Shadow of Memories, but I guess that does that count? Because like it's not really Return by Death. It's more like every time they die, they just get brought back. Well, I guess it is. I guess that's not Return by Death, but like in a way, it's like kind of like that, but not like that, I guess. But it is like that. This homunculus brings them back every single time. I can also send them like into different time periods and stuff like this as well. But what I love about like that type of thing is like the idea of preventing your death, right? And again, I say now like it's not one of my favorite tropes, but I think of Shadow Memories and I'm like, this is and ReZero. It's like that. It's so good. And now in Stars in Time, but like, I guess I just never thought of it as one of my favorites. But now like I'm thinking about it. There's like I love the idea of like in Shadow of Memories, you get hit by this car. And you're like, oh my god, like I got hit by a car. How do I prevent this? And the only way to really prevent it is to make sure that the people in the area don't leave that area, so no one can like kill you, because then there's witnesses, right? So like these two girls are looking at this movie photo and they go, oh, look at this like movie poster. This is really interesting. Or no, first they go, this is boring, and they leave and they don't look at the movie photo. And by the way, this is back like when there wasn't internet, so that's the only way you could really look at like an upcoming movie photo. And then like you basically go back and talk to the director of the movie and make a more interesting movie. So then like when you go forward in time, those two girls stay and look at the movie poster, so there's witnesses, so you can't be killed. I don't know, I think it's like a really, really cool idea. But yeah, the first one would be my favorite, and then also like I actually am kind of fond of the Return by Death thing in some way as well. But that's the way I would look at it as well. Okay, very cool. The next question is from Ali, and they say, if you had to give one piece of advice to younger Calvin, what would you give him? This is always tough, I guess, because like I talked about this like in a YouTuber sense before, but I think in terms of like, life sense in general, it would be probably I would say don't. It's to me it's about interests and stuff that like you really like as well. I would say that like focus on completing stuff a lot more, because I had like this thing when I was a teenager, and even like now sometimes too, where I'm like I really like to like do all these things and stuff like this and things like that. But now like I think I'm focusing more on like completing like a few things. I'm working on the channel and my comic. You know what I mean? Whereas like when I was younger, I was like doing all this stuff, and like I'd see something and I want to do it. Like I'd be like, oh my god, like I'd love to be a writer, I'd love to be a commentator, I'd love to do this, I'd love to write this comic, I'd love to write a book, I'd love to write this. And I even like tried to do like claymation at one point, and I feel like it's one of those things where like I never got any of them done because I like kept moving back and forth. And I think like it's hard for when you're a kid, but I would go back to myself and be like, hey, just finish one of these things. You know what I mean? Finish that comic, finish that claymation thing. I think one of the one times I locked in was like when I like learned how to play like guitar and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, this is like working. And then even in that, I didn't get to a point where like I was amazing. And it's like, man, if I just could go back to myself in that moment and be like, just keep at it. Like I know that like you're going to like you're going off to like new parts of your life and stuff like this, but like don't forget about the guitar, because you're a good guitar player, but like in 2 years time you could be like really great. But I never really kind of like I still have my guitar, like I still like do stuff sometimes, but I never really like do like really difficult stuff. I'm always just like doing the stuff I already know. But I would like definitely tell myself to like lock in a bit on some stuff, not in like a very aggressive way, but just be like, hey, just like keep at it, you know what I mean? Keep at stuff, finish some stuff before you go to other stuff as well. It's actually funny because like I have the same advice for my YouTube stuff as well. When I started off on YouTube, I wouldn't really finish playthroughs all that much. And when I started finishing playthroughs, that's when I started getting an audience. Like, legitimately, because like, I see all the time, like, with new YouTubers, they will do that all the time where they won't finish a playthrough before they move on to the next one because it's not getting many views. But what would happen is that, like, you know, then people don't trust that you're going to finish a playthrough. And eventually I did finish a playthrough and kept finishing playthroughs. And then people are like, oh, I'm actually into this. Because then people will find your playthrough like 10 months from now and they'll watch the new stuff. And I think a lot of people go like, oh, this is getting like 3 people watching it. It's like, yeah, finish that playthrough. And eventually, like, and the example I would give is like Fire Emblem Three Houses had 90 people watching it like every day, which is great. You know, I love those 90 people. But now, like, it has like, you know, 5,000 views on every single video. And it's like while it's like views aren't important, it's like one of those things where it's like 5,000 people checked it out after I played it. And if I would have given up, then they wouldn't have seen that whole playthrough, you know? And they wouldn't have watched the whole way through, and I still wouldn't get lovely comments as I do all the time. So yeah, finish stuff up is what I'd say. I also asked a question to for the community video, and I said, a man comes to you with $1 billion. He says, here's some money to advertise a game of your choosing so more people can see it. Which game would you choose? As a bonus, what aspect of the game would you want people to see first? I also said you can also tell me what you've been up to in terms of what games you're playing, what movies you were watching, and are you trying any new music? And let's see what people said. So Malcolm Conde says, here we are, gets the question up. There's one game I played long ago and it's called One Chance. The premise is simple. There's a deadly disease killing everyone in the world and you are a scientist who can maybe find a cure. The game lets you either go to work and try to find a cure, stay at home and give company to your wife and daughter, or your final days. On your final days. Or just to generally explore and meet people and see how they cope with all their loved ones dying. The game takes place over several days and has multiple endings. None of them are truly happy. I can imagine just by the premise alone that a lot of them are very happy. None of them are truly happy and some of them are worse than others. This was just the other Flash game for the early 2010s, but that was crazy to me that no matter what ending you got, you could never replay the game. Wait, what? No matter how much you tried resetting your browser or logging into a different account on another device, your ending was locked to your IP address and account. You just get the final cinematic again when you ever replay. That's crazy. With money, maybe a sequel could be made, not in the same world, mind you, but with the same premise and with the story of longer than 30 minutes. A game where your choices really matter, where you get one shot to try and make a difference. No one shot doesn't count. You can start a new save file whenever. And if you mess up, you get no do-overs. A game that hits you right in the heart with an interpersonal story. A game like this would probably get mixed reactions. The only way to see different endings would be to watch someone else play it. But I feel like it'd be a very interesting concept. No, I get what you're saying. That's I never even knew this was a thing. And I think that like one of the things like about something like this that would be kind of like interesting is that like it would probably be a very community-based game, which isn't always like a bad thing. Like you said, like, you know, you said as well, you know, like people would probably get mixed reactions. 100%. Like if you played this game, got a bad ending, and then you like tried to replay it and you couldn't replay it, there probably would be a bit of like, this sucks. You know, and we know there would be, you know, this sucks. But in reality, like, I think it would be such a beautiful thing if you were able to advertise it fully, saying that you can only get one ending and the game locks you out. I think that would be such an interesting thing. I think also, you would also have to, like, make sure you advertise that right away, because I think a lot of people might be like, you know, I paid for this game and you're telling me I can never play it, you know, in that way. But if it was advertised as a community game, you play it once, it's like, you know, whatever amount of dollars, like you're saying, and then, like, you watch other people play it. Community-based. What ending did you get? Oh my god, you got that ending? How did you get that? Oh my god, how did you get this? And I feel like also it would force people to make the choices, because I think sometimes people do make choices that are like obviously the choices that they wouldn't make, but also like there are like, you know, times when like people wouldn't probably make choices where they're like, well, this is like the quote-unquote right choice. Maybe it's not a choice that they would make themselves. So it would force people to have to make a choice that was like based on what they truly believed in, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be able to do it again, right? I think it's such an interesting concept. I think it's something that would blow up on the internet nowadays for sure. Especially if like it came during an off season, you saw other people playing it, people doing reaction videos to it. It would be like a really big deal. I think it would be really, really cool. A scary premise, but like also a very, very cool premise at the same time. The next is from What's Your Damage, and they say the game I would choose to advertise is Mario Party DS, so it gets a revival or something, because God, I missed that game. I never played a Mario Party game, actually. I have it on DS, but I just love the feeling epic defeating a boss, and would love a new generation to experience that on Switch or something. Now, I don't own one, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I just think specifically a remap or revival of the DS version would be cool, not just another Mario Party. Maybe it's nostalgia talking. I would advertise the epic new large-scale story to the alone with the minigames, So you know what they should do. Also, you know what they should also bring back? Styluses. It would be a neat twist. And port this to Steam so I could play it. Who said that? Yeah, honestly, like I think Mario games and Nintendo games being on Steam would be fantastic. Obviously, like we know it's never gonna happen, but it could be very interesting as well. I actually think you're speaking to my heart here as well, because one of the things I think is missing from a lot of party games nowadays, and a lot of like games like that in general, is story and story-based stuff. Like I think Crash Bash wasn't a fantastic game, but it had a story to it when I was younger. And I think like for some reason developers don't like doing that anymore, where it's like, let's create a game that is a party game but also has a story. Let's make a fighting game that also has a story in it. Let's create a game that has like a racing game that has a story in it. Like even when Mario Kart World was announced, I thought, oh, like there's gonna be an open world game. This is such a good chance to have like a Crash, team racing style story in it. And they didn't go with that. They just went with like some little tasks on the map, and I was disappointed. I was disappointed, and I feel like it'd be a really cool idea to like add back into like to inject some life into it as well here too. I love the idea of bringing styluses back. I love the idea of bringing gimmicks back. You know what I mean? Like the motion control thing on the Switch is always fantastic, but like the idea of like, because you can do that, right? They have styluses for what's it called, Mario Maker? They did bring back that, right? Am I wrong? I think they did. So they could bring back a DS style, which is what you're saying was, John, a DS style stylus. The one I have over there on my Nintendo DS Lite that I got years and years ago. I think it'll be like again, people love gimmicks. People love, classic stuff. People love like nostalgic stuff. But in this way, it would add like, to me, new life to those type of games. Because I think nowadays one of the things that happens is with those type of games is like people are like, well, like I just play this for the multiplayer aspect, and that's fine. But like I kind of miss the idea of playing fighting games for stories. I'm playing racing games for stories. I'm playing party games for stories as well. I do. Victoria says, I would choose the Planet Crafter, so perhaps it gets ported to consoles and gains more players. It really is a great game by a small studio where you terraform a planet, but the only danger is the lack of oxygen and water. No enemies, no other factions, just you in a lowly expansive space and a great soundtrack. While you try to get plants and animals to evolve, it's a game that really sucks you in for hours while you explore the map. And the devs have since added other moons you can expand to. It also holds up to 10 people for co-op, but its audience is very small, and I think that's a shame. So you just want to advertise this game that would be like more people could see it, which is kind of like a really what we would want from this as well, for a small game like this for sure. So like it is like, first of all, this seems like it's a game that like you have to like put some thought into, right, as well, which I think is interesting. The idea of like terraforming a planet. Lack of oxygen. There's no enemies, but like obviously like you have to like probably have some forethought and think about like what your next move is, which obviously sounds very, very interesting as well. I've never been really good at these type of games, the idea of like creating stuff or like building things, I guess, or building worlds. But I think the idea of like these type of games, like you said, it's a game that like makes you lose yourself for hours upon hours, and I don't think that's like something that like can never be taken for granted from me or anyone personally. Because I think like one of the things that like happens all the time nowadays is like people will be like, oh, was the game good? And they'll be like, well, I played it for hours, and like, so but I wouldn't say it's amazing. And it's like, you played this game for like 24 hours straight, and you're saying you don't see it as like that good? But yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like a game that sucks you in for hours to me is like a very high quality game. I know you could say, well, what about mobile games? It's like, I know you guys get what I'm saying. It's like, mechanics and good mechanics like will draw you in. And yes, of course, addictive mechanics and, gambling games do that too, right? 100%. Like, we all I play Genshin. I do the leveling up all the time. That's addictive, sometimes too. Like the Honkai Star Rail stuff. When I start with Honkai Star Rail and I'm like leveling up characters, I can't, like, it's really difficult to like put down the controller. You know what I mean? Especially since they give you so much in that game. Like even today, I was leveling up characters and I was like, okay, come back tomorrow. You've been doing this for like an hour, and it's super, super fun and super, super addictive. But yeah, like I do think that like a game like this, like, if people gave it a chance, because that's the same with me with like games like this, because with Stardew Valley, for example, like I never really like approached it until the channel came along, and I was like, okay, maybe I could do it in the channel, and people were suggesting for a while, and then I became like really, really into it. And of course I took my break as well and wanted to come back to do eventually also at the same time too, but like I do feel like it is one of those things where like if people give those type of games a chance, you might find that I say like 50 people would play it and maybe like 20 people would be really into it and 30 people would be like, this is too much. But at least you would find that audience, which I think, is a really good idea too. Yeah, it sounds like a really cool idea. I think that the survival games in general are cool, it just like obviously takes like, giving it a chance, right? It always takes giving it a chance. Please give it a chance is like the way to look at it as well. I do also like the idea of a game that doesn't have like enemies, no one trying to hurt you, no one trying to attack you, but there is like this kind of feeling of like not emptiness, but like loneliness, and, you know, just trying to like get through your daily activities as well at the same time too. Because while like enemies are really cool to put in those survival games too, there's also like this idea of like just like, you know, focusing on a task, focusing on a goal and moving towards that goal every single day. And, you know, obviously maybe logging back in as well and coming back into the game, seeing your progress. And that's one of the most important things too. Seeing your progress as you're playing through a game like this, to me, is like more important than words sometimes too. I always talk about how like seeing what you're like, you know, seeing the fruits of your labor. Again, Stardew Valley. Like when I play Stardew Valley, there's a lot of things that make you really happy in that game. And one of the things that makes me most happy is like when you sell all your crops or when you see your crops growing. It is something that just makes you happy. And I feel like you would get that feeling in this game too. Blasco says on the YouTube side of things, even though it's relatively popular, Disco Elysium 100% wouldn't be smart enough to make a good ad for it. Yes, you would. Come on. It's a really good game. Slow, but it made me think a lot about my life and the choices I make. It impacted me so much. I recently got a tattoo of it. Very freaking cool. So, Disco Elysium, to me, whenever someone suggests that game to me, first of all, I've played it. I have played one playthrough of it like years and years ago, 100%. But like, to me, that it's a very like addictive game in a weird way as well, where when you first play it, the first impression you get of it, and Blasco can talk about this too in the comments as well, but the first impression you get of that game always is this. It's like for me, it was like, what have I gotten myself into? What am I playing here? I paid for this game like full price, and like, I feel like this game makes me feel very weird. I'm like not really like that into it. And then like after an hour, you're like, oh, this game is trying to like do something really impressive here, it feels. After like 10 hours, you're like, holy hell, I cannot like even take my, you know, eyes off this game, and my thoughts are on this game as well. It's like, you know, 15 hours, you're like, okay, I'm really thinking about this game. And at one point, I got to a point in the game where like I was so stuck that I got so frustrated, because there is times you will get stuck in this game because, you know, you're not going to know what to do. And I remember, Blasco, I legitimately like turned off the game and exited out, and it's like, okay, I don't need to move any further. I don't want to play the rest of this game if I'm just going to feel frustrated. I went away from it. I'm not even joking. 3 hours later, I booted back up. I was like, I feel like I need to play this game again, because it does have stuff to say. It has so many interesting characters and very realistic characters. It has characters that aren't supposed to be like loved or liked all the time. It has very dangerous situations and scary situations, but scary situations not only in like horror style, but also like in a style of like, this is dark. This is super dark. Even like some light moments feel dark. You know, getting inside your head, meeting all these characters that like have either something that's hidden, but they have like personality traits that are kind of like not always like pleasant. You know, having to make the proper decisions to like really get through like these days like, you know, that you're going through as well. Asking the right questions, you know, going to the right locations. By the way, the locations in this game are absolutely incredible as well. I think I want to replay Disco Elysium at some point, honestly. I think it'd be really, really fun. Because, like, again, I'm thinking of, like, the shops and the characters and, like, the moments. And, like, while, yes, it's very, very dark. And it's, like, again, makes you think about a lot of stuff. It's addictive in, like, a very thoughtful way. How, like, I couldn't even put the controller down for this. It was so impressively, like, surrounding and entranced me, and like it sucked me in, and I was done. Like the game really like, and you know what's so funny? I don't remember like a lot about it, but I remember like little moments and like the voices and like the rolling of the dice and like the locations. But I remember that just that one day just proved how much like this game is like really good. Is that like I quit the game from frustration and booted it back up again because I was like, I can't put this down. I just can't. I might have even deleted it because I was like, okay, we'll delete it and make some space on the console. And I think I re-downloaded it. Like, that's how like really impressive this game is. It's super, super impressive. Thank you guys for all your answers, and thank you guys for asking some questions too. And with that, I'm going to say thank you so much to the Never Can Play the Baby Gangster on Patreon. That being Typhar2, Jamie Bull, John the Banana, The Ghost of Inazuma, Felicious Felix, Uwood, Radish, and Nusta, Death Trap, Link Smarky, Yassassin, True Peanut Butter, Peter Shelson, Heck, Leon, Hike Experience, Jeremy, and I'm at the highest tier of my YouTube, World Gamer 7, and Blasco. And I'll see you all so soon. Bye bye.